Let me ask you this question. Have you ever heard this before?
I think it's my kind of informal rule that I'll use spirit summons if I'm having a lot of trouble with a boss.
I've done every fight ever without summons.
I, for one, play it completely blind with no summons.
I'm not gonna cheese him with magic, though I could, but it's not super fun. It's not like a really fulfilling way of killing him.
Why do so many people that play Souls games always have this weird internal rule of not using the mechanics in the game to make the game easier? And where did this come from? Hey everyone, I'm Nesto, by the way. And welcome to our channel of blanktriggergamers. We make videos about video games that we find interesting. So if you're clicking on this video for the first time and you've never played a Souls game, then you're going to learn a little bit of history of how these games started. Souls games have always been an experience all on their own. They are very hard, they're very tedious, they can be very cryptic, they can be very unforgiving. But they're very satisfying. They're a game where you feel a level of accomplishment. Now if we go back to Demon's Souls was a very early game. It was no one knew about it. No one understood what actually was going on in the game. So the community shared a lot of experiences and shared a lot of information, and they used whatever they could do or find to make the game easier. There's nothing like how it is today with most Souls games or anything that FromSoft has made. Now with Dark Souls, it was a different experience. When it came to the community, a lot of people already knew what they were in for if they've played Demon's Souls. The community understood that sharing information was kind of vital in this kind of game. After their experience of Demon's Souls, it just became natural to create guides and the rise of YouTube videos where they would explain how to get this weapon and that item. But something peculiar happened. This preconceived notion of how the game worked made it so it was a little bit easier to understand and how to play the game. With that came a lot of experiences that differed from other people. Some people had the same experiences like they did with Demon's Souls, where it was the hardest game they've ever played. This me included because my first game was Dark Souls. And the experience you get from these games is not like anything you would ever experience. It's a very personal and almost philosophical journey that you put yourself in of overcoming a challenge.
Signature moments like fighting O and S over and over and over and finally beating them by myself nonetheless. I remember when I finally beat O and S and I was just like, oh man, I was so stoked. And then, as kind of stupid as it sounds, it made me feel like I had some sense of purpose.
When you succeed at completing a challenging task in any facet of life, you feel great. You feel accomplished. You feel like every struggle you've experienced is justified for the reward of completing that challenge. In Souls games, this sort of experience is almost already predisposed to happen. Let's face it, Souls games are challenging from the start. If you don't understand every mechanic, opportunity, and enemy attack pattern, then it can be an extremely arduous task just to overcome beating one boss. I personally experienced this when I played Dark Souls for the first time in 2011, because I had no idea what to do or how the game worked. But over time, I learned through experimenting, guides, and Epic Name Bro, EMB videos if you remember that I eventually adapted to the game enough to beat it. Fast forward to now, I've platinumed every Souls-like game that FromSoft has put out after Dark Souls. I did not say all this to flex or say get good, but to explain that I've reached a point where a Souls-like game does not really give me the same difficulty that they used to when I first started playing these games. I believe that most veteran Souls players can say the same too. And this is where I think the internal rule comes from. As your knowledge of a Souls game increases, you realize that there are many ways to make your experience easier. Be it summons, a great weapon, a strategy, or a weakness you can exploit in the boss. These things aren't known to you at the start. And because of this, I believe you can create a perspective of the game that it can only be fulfilling when you must overcome a challenge with the tools that are given to you. It's like we put ourselves in a situation where, hear me out, it's like we need to remove a screw, but we don't know what screwdriver to use. Instead of looking for the right screwdriver that will make our lives easier, we attempt to remove the screw with whatever we have on hand. If we succeed, then this becomes our standard for accomplishing that task. And once we find the correct screwdriver that works, we intentionally choose to not use it because that's not a challenging and fulfilling experience. It's kind of weird hearing that, right? But I believe Souls players have this exact same mindset after being their first Souls game. These games are such an intimate and personal experience that it's a no-brainer that we look for ways to recreate our first experience. That's why I believe this arbitrary rule that most follow is just to create an artificial challenge to bring back that same satisfaction when we overcame Demon Souls, Dark Souls, Bloodborne, Sekiro, whichever one was your first. From the outside looking in, it can look extremely foolish and confusing to make the game harder on purpose, for the sake of reliving your experience of dying over and over and over again. These games are already hard. Why would you make it harder on yourself? I've followed this unwritten rule for every new Souls game that I've played, except for Elden Ring. I've not mentioned Elden Ring until this point, because this game has been a truly different experience. At first, I bashed my head against bosses using whatever I could find, going in blind, and it made for some challenging boss fights. I did the standard don't use summons on my first playthrough, don't cheese or use OP weapons, and try to beat the boss at your current level. I won't lie, those battles made me feel accomplished, but once I beat Morgoth, it made me question, why am I doing this? This game is so vast and huge, and yet I'm limiting myself to like 1/10 of the experience. All for the sake of artificial difficulty. That's when it hit me. This game is different from the normal Souls experience. It's probably the most JRPG-like Souls game ever made because it wants you to grind and explore. It wants you to come back to areas when you have overpowered stuff. And it wants you to utilize all the mechanics in the game. The bosses in this game are the hardest bosses ever made by FromSoft, and I believe that was intentional. Sure, I could play the game like every Souls game and die over and over again until I beat them with my +5 straight sword. Or I could summon a jellyfish buddy and shoot a Kamehameha from a sword. This is where I think if you're a Souls fan that follows that rule, it's okay to just mess around with this game. It doesn't need to be this painful, challenging experience like the other games have. You may use some OP magic or weapon, but you can still very much die if you're not smart. I'm just saying this because I want people to understand, like, you can play a game and have fun with it and not feel like you have this pressure internally that you're breaking some oath or code. It's perfectly fine to just play a Souls game and shoot 2 Kamehamehas at the same time. That's all. Hey everybody, thanks for watching that video. Thank you for sticking to the end. I just want to go back over it again and just say this whole video is not meant to shame or clown on people that play Elden Ring the way I presented in the video. I do it the same way. I'm guilty of this too, like I said. But if you feel like saying screw it and doing whatever you want and cheese and stuff, don't feel bad about it. Just have fun with it, you know? And leave a comment below how you feel about this. I'd be interested in hearing discussion because not really many people talk about this hidden rule or informal rule that we have in Souls. So let me know. Thank you for watching this video. I appreciate it so much. If you like this video, then hit that like button and subscribe to our channel if you want to see more videos from us. We do Elden Ring and Dark Souls stuff from time to time. It's not our main content, but it pops up. I also want to use this time to bring up that we've got this cool shirt with our mascot in Melina's clothing for Elden Ring hype. So if you're interested in supporting us further than just a like and subscribe, pick one of these shirts up. They're kind of cool. I like them. I'm wearing them. See? You see that? They look cool. Anyways, thank you for watching again, and I will see y'all next time. Bye!